Let's get to the tight ends now, and we will start things off with number 10 in our rankings. It's one Luke Willson of the Seattle Seahawks.
A cult fan favorite on Seahawks Reddit is Luke Willson. They love this guy, and he's a solid wide receiver, solid tight end all around. Good blocker. You know, he's been a backup behind Jimmy Graham for a while, so he mostly blocks, but they use him in the red zone pretty effectively. I think that's what he kind of is in the NFL. He's a backup tight end. I expect he stays in Seattle, but if you're looking to get someone who can block, maybe do a little stuff for you around the red zone, Luke Wilson's your guy. And a shout out to Amina Kimes, who's actually Luke Wilson's biggest fan on Twitter. So look, he's just a good, solid wide receiver. He's had a fun career in the NFL.
Luke Willson, our number 10 guy. As you see, the Jets, the Colts, the Dolphins could also be interested, as well as the Seattle Seahawks. All right, let's take a look at number 9 in our rankings, ladies and gentlemen. Richard Rodgers. And it's just So we're at this point in the rankings where it's just and we'll eventually get to the really big-time names. But Richard Rodgers of the Packers here.
Did Aaron Rodgers play this year?
Somewhat.
Nah, just a little bit. That's why Richard Rodgers was bad. If you look at his stats when Aaron Rodgers is playing and when he's not, it is laughable how much worse he gets when Aaron Rodgers isn't playing. Another career that he's been able to make. He's going to leave for me. He kind of screams Arizona Cardinal. He does. I think he's going to end up going somewhere and just kind of being a backup tight end. I mean, they signed Jermaine Gresham those years ago, and he's still there. The tight end position for the Cardinals kind of been just a whole lot of meh. And Richard Rodgers, an overall NFL wide receiver, just kind of meh.
Richard Rodgers checking in at number 9 in our tight end rankings. Number 8 now, Ed Dickson, tight end of the
Dixon.
Panthers. I know him well from his days in Baltimore, and the Ravens are perhaps a team likely interested in him, but Ed Dickson is just
He's just always around. He's blocking. He'll make a couple crazy catches. He'll have like one game a year where he goes off, and you'll have a couple fantasy people saying, "Bye, Ed Dickson." It's Ed Dickson. He's a decent backup tight end. He's a better blocker than he is a receiver.
30 years old.
He's consistent. He's a good locker room guy, but at the end of the day, it's Ed Dickson. You know what you're getting with him. I think a return to the Ravens would actually be quite fitting. I think it'd be fun. Yeah.
Out of Oregon there.
Way back
the Baltimore
when.
Ravens. All right, so there's Ed Dickson at number 8 in our rankings. Let's take a look at number 7 now. And this is one Ben Watson, the grizzled veteran.
Bumping Benny Watson. Oh, I love Ben Watson. One of my favorite. Oh, he's great. He just keeps on ticking. Ben Watson is going to end up going we're going to look back on a lot of these crazy old NFL teams, like you do now. And you're just like, wow, Ben Watson played until he was blank old. He's 37 years old. The dude was drafted way back, and I want to say, I think 2004 to the New England Patriots. Look, Ben Watson has just been one of the more consistent tight ends in the NFL. He's played for a bunch of different teams. It was great to see him have such a good comeback season off that torn Achilles. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up going back to the Patriots. They're going to cut Dwayne Allen. Gronk with all these retirement rumors. He's probably could replace Martellus Bennett. Ben Watson's going to be a good, solid pickup for any team. I would expect him to go to a team that has a Super Bowl winning potential. I don't think he's going to go to one of your lower-end teams.
One of the great guys in the NFL as well. So one of the Men of the Year nominees, Ben Watson. Fantastic season for the Ravens, all things considered, especially with that passing attack that wasn't very good.
Also a great guy, by the way. Been constantly in the Walter Payton Man of the Year award talks. One of the best community guys in the NFL.
I did just mention that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all good, buddy. Hey, Ben Watson at number 7. Let's take a look at number 6 now. Virgil Green, tight end for the Denver Broncos.
I got distracted because I learned today that Virgil Green is 30 years old. When did Virgil Green become 30 years old? I thought he got drafted in the NFL 3 years ago. Nope, he's 30. He's been in the NFL forever just blocking. He is a blocking tight end. Do you need someone to block on offense? Sign Virgil Green. That's kind of where his career is. I remember when Julius Thomas left the Broncos, there were all these fantasy articles. Oh, pick up Virgil Green. He's going to be the next tight end for the Broncos. And just, nope. Totally just did not happen.
So we know who he is at this point.
Yeah, he's a blocker. 14 catches for under 200 yards and a touchdown this year. He blocks.
Yeah. That's all that needs to be said.
He blocks. He could go to the Jaguars behind Mercedes Lewis and block. He can go to the Jets behind Seferian-Jenkins. and block. That's what Virgil Green does. He blocks.
All right, so he's there at number 6. Let's go to number 5 and a future Hall of Famer, Antonio Gates. You got to wonder when this guy's going to call it a career, but it's pretty safe to say he's going to stay with the Chargers.
The NFL cyborg. I'm pretty sure at this point both of his legs are robotic.
Yeah.
Like he's just this. I love Antonio
Automatic.
Gates. One of the greatest tight ends in NFL history. Probably a first ballot Hall of Famer. Maybe we'll see, but just. It's Antonio Gates. Did you know that he played basketball in college? I don't know. They don't mention that enough in NFL broadcasts.
Exactly.
That Antonio Gates played, basketball in college. So did Jimmy Graham, by the way. So I love Antonio Gates. It's nice to see that he's still playing. He's still kicking. He probably should have retired like 3 years ago. But hey, you keep making that money, Antonio Gates. Keep bringing in those dollars.
So there he is at number 5. You mentioned Austin Seferian-Jenkins. He is indeed a free agent. And I think, look, he's at number 4 here on our list. Kind of had a little bit of a resurgence last year. 50 receptions. It's not too bad.
He started off really, really hot and then totally just vanished down the stretch. He's still a massive enigma to me. Or I keep using the word enigma. He's a puzzle. I like Austin Seferian-Jenkins. He will forever go down this season as the guy who got totally screwed over in that Patriots-Jets game by fumbling the ball out of bounds. That probably wasn't a fumble, whatever you want to say. Got totally annihilated by that call, and his season wasn't the same afterwards. I think he's a good, solid pickup for anyone that needs a number 2 tight end, especially someone that just needs to catch balls. He got 50 balls this year for the Jets. His production totally went away once Josh McCown went down.
Which is understandable.
It is understandable. I think he'll be a good pickup for any team looking for a tight end that's going to be relatively cheap.
All right, so let's go into number 3 now, Trey Burton, tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles.
An interesting name.
Yeah.
Highly versatile player, can play tight end, can also play wide receiver. He's a backup for the Eagles this year. But he had 5 touchdowns, good red zone target, and hey, if you need him to, he can also throw a touchdown in the Super Bowl when you need him most. Former quarterback. Look, solid player. I wouldn't say, the last great tight end that's come out of being a backup was Martellus Bennett way back when. So we'll end up seeing what Trey Burton can do. I like him a lot. I think he'll end up being a decent pickup for an NFL for a roster. I think the Jaguars would actually end up being really cool.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he can do as a number 1 tight end. So there is Trey Burton at number 3. Number 2, Tyler Eifert, a guy that just can't stay on the football field. He's such a talented player. We've seen it before. But 4 receptions, 46 yards in 2017, that's all you need to see.
Yeah, just look, he's missed 41 games in his career.
It's unbelievable.
41 games. And just it kind of goes back to the fact that drafting tight ends high is so unbelievably risky. When he plays, he's good, but he's just injured all the time. He was supposed to get a massive contract.
Franchise kind of contract.
From the Bengals, and he just got injured again this year. So buyer beware. Buy at your own risk. I trust him as far as I can throw him, but at the same time, I think he would make an outstanding Green Bay Packer. I think you slot him in with Aaron Rodgers, finally gets that tight end that he needs, maybe even the Texans with Deshaun Watson. I don't think he ends up staying with the Bengals. I think he ends up getting a decent contract from another team, maybe 3 years 18, 3 years 20, maybe. I think he'd be a good option for a team trying to get better at the tight end position like the Packers.
You know what? I think he'd be a nice little compliment, too, to Jack Doyle and the Indianapolis Colts.
I like that as well.
Too. So we'll see what happens with Tyler Eifert at number 2, which probably means you know who's at number 1. It's Jimmy Graham. Yes, you heard it right. And we're wondering, could there be a New Orleans Saints reunion? There they are.
That would be fun. I think the Texans are actually a fantastic fit, especially for what they need at the tight end position. They just need more guys around the red zone that can catch touchdowns that aren't named DeAndre Hopkins. I think Jimmy Graham would be a fantastic fit for them. You slot him with Deshaun Watson, use the play action with Lamar Miller. He'd be a great fit, but the real question is what ends up happening. Does he go to the Saints? Does he stay with the Seahawks? I question what ends up happening to Jimmy Graham, and I also question if he's actually a tight end. Just sign him as a wide receiver.
That's exactly right.
I don't think he's a tight end.
Which leads us to this. For all of you people watching the show, is Jimmy Graham really a tight end or just a wide receiver?
He's a wide receiver. He can't block.
Remember the years ago when he was arguing for wide receiver kind of money?
Oh, I remember that. And to be totally honest, I think he deserved it. I think that's what he is. He's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver. All those Gronk versus Jimmy Graham things, they play 2 different positions. I understand that Jimmy Graham comes off the line and is absolutely massive, but that doesn't mean that he's a tight end. He doesn't block. He's one of the worst blocking tight ends whenever he's asked to do it. Let him play wide receiver. Put him on the outside. He's great in the red zone. He might be one of the only wide receivers in the NFL, tight ends, who can actually catch an end zone fade on a consistent basis. I think Jimmy Graham should leave. I'd like to see what he can do in Houston.
All right, so certainly a big-time jump from number 10 to number 1 in our tight end rankings. Let's take a look at the first set of 5 here. Luke Willson, Richard Rodgers, Ed Dickson, Ben Watson, and Virgil Green, followed by Antonio Gates, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, Trey Burton, Tyler Eifert, and Jimmy Graham there.